Welcome to Cinemophile, where we bring you the best in independent, documentary, and foreign films, and we talk to the people who made them. I'm your host, Mike Caspar, and you can find out more about the program by going to cinemophilepod.com. In a sweeping love story that spans 3 decades of friendship, passion, heartbreak, and hope, Nino, an eternal optimist, and Yasmina, an impulsive pragmatist, are drawn together by a magnetic relationship struggling with universal choices of adult life in extraordinary circumstances of a country constantly ravaged by war. They are confronted with an impossible choice between love and survival. It's just a beautiful film. It's a beautiful film to look at. It's a beautiful film to spend time with the characters and the people in it. It is about love. It is about grief. It is about acceptance. It's about fighting back. Beautifully done film. We're honored to have with us today the writer and director of A Sad and Beautiful World, Cyril Aris. Cyril, welcome to Cinemophile.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Before we get too far along in our conversation, I also want to acknowledge your co-screenwriter in this wonderful film, and that would be Ban Faki. Terrific screenplay. This is a film that is filled with many different emotional landscapes where this multi-layered story takes place with the backdrop of war and unrest and tragedy. But in the mix here is also happiness, love, community, a sense of place. It's beautifully filmed in Lebanon. I believe a good part of this film was also filmed in Beirut. Is that right?
Yeah. Beirut for the most part, and then some scenes in the mountains and in the north of Lebanon by the coast.
Well, so while we're at it, I want to make sure that we give credit to where credit is due. The editing is spectacular, but also your cinematographer. Let's talk about this because it's such a beautiful look, inside, outside, wherever we go. Spectacular cinematography.
Yes, thank you. That's with my cinematographer, Joe Saad, who's also Beirut-based cinematographer, but he works in the Middle East, he works in Europe as well. So we've been working together for 10 years at this point, so we kind of speak the same language, and I think he's the perfect blend between someone who's very technical, who understands the lenses and cinematography and all of that, but is also very emotional and always prioritizes the emotion and placing the camera or making choices with lighting and color depending on what the character is feeling, what the character is going through, or what's the overall emotion that we're trying to convey. And in this film in particular, because we have two very different characters, Nino and Yasmina, they have such different perspectives of Beirut and of Lebanon. We had an excuse to film Beirut in all of its beauty, all of its wonder, and all of its energy. But also we had the excuse through the eyes of Yasmina to film Beirut, the more urban side, the more rotten side, and the ugly side in a way. And the coexistence of the two, I think, is the definition of Beirut, and this is also the directorial through line when it came to cinematography.
Yeah. Just was also point out that his previous work, Joyland, explored
yes.
much of the same kind of emotional landscape that we see here. Beautiful film, just a beautiful film to look at. Well, focus on A Sad and Beautiful World. This, the story is in many ways, it is a love story. It's a family story. There are many different places that we end up over the course of this story. Where were you and your co-writer, Ban Faki? Where were you in your life that this was the story that you wanted to tell?
In the beginning, it was a way to explore our relationship, or my generation's relationship with Beirut, because it's a place we love tremendously and we're very attached to. But at the same time, it's a place that makes us suffer. And we suffer because of the circumstances around it, and we also suffer because we are so attached to it, and it's very hard to leave it. But we're constantly faced with these questions of, is it better to leave and to think selfishly and to try to build a better future elsewhere, or should we resist and should we keep dreaming and hoping and contributing to our country? So that's a bit how it started. But very quickly I realized that the central question that I was trying to answer was something that I was going through in my personal life with my wife now, which was whether or not we wanted to have children, and if it's worth bringing children into our world today, given this overall pessimism that we have towards the future. And then when you place this in the specificity of the Lebanese context, then it becomes a question that has a heavier weight, because it almost becomes an act of resistance to decide to imagine a future here for the next generation. This question also is a tough one to answer because when we look at my generation or my parents' generation or my grandparents' generation, none of us has been spared in terms of having a profound crisis, a violent war, being submitted to like these regional wars all around us. So it really makes you wonder if there's any bright future or any optimistic future for the generation to come. Because if you think about it, not really, but then emotionally, you do want to keep hoping and believing and constructing something in that country.
And I don't want to get into a long, drawn out conversation about history, but even going back before 1948, you can go back to the British occupation. You keep
Yeah,
going, the further back, you keep going back further and further. And it's the land. It must be something about the just being there, being that it keeps people in love with being there because the outside circumstances are certainly conspiring to make that as difficult as seems as humanly possible. And yet these people, your people of Lebanon and other parts of Syria, you name it, continue to be so adamant about wanting to maintain what they have established. It's got to be at the family level as well, right? That's
yeah,
really,
yeah, yeah. That's also a very important question. Is it really the land, or is it the people that are
okay.
inhabiting this land, or is
Yeah,
it a combination of both? And I think it really is all of the above. It's the cultural heritage, it's
yeah.
the artistic heritage, the music, the art, the food, the strong family ties, that strong attachment to this land. There's when you think of like the when you think of Lebanon, you think of the nature, you think of the cedars that have been there for
Yeah.
5,000 years, 6,000 years. So it's a land that has been continuously inhabited, and some of the oldest cities in the world actually are in the Middle East.
It's
So
often referred to, that region of the world is often referred to as the cradle of civilization. I saw
mhm.
a documentary about winemaking. That's where it came from, was Lebanon, was they track it
It
back.
was,
The idea of
it was,
farming,
yes.
the idea of farming goes back to Lebanon, right? The
Yeah,
fact
yeah.
that
No,
you
no,
gather
wine,
together
yeah.
and do things in a collective way. I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
No, no, no. Wine is such an important culture, piece of our culture. And when you think of the Bible, when you think of the New Testament, Jesus's first miracle is attributed to Cana, which is a city in the or a town in the south of Lebanon, and it's also attributed to wine. So yeah, winemaking has always been part of our culture. But everything gastronomical, everything that's food and and drinking,
Yeah,
and
no,
that's the thing that never dies in Lebanon, despite the wars, despite everything. If I put you in Beirut now, despite everything, I can guarantee you're gonna have an amazing meal.
well, again, cradle of civilization, we in the West have completely lost and or continue to ignore the contributions and to the way we live our lives in so many important ways. This is a love story, Nino and Yasmina, and extraordinary performances on both of their parts in this film. Hassan Akil
Akil, yes, correct,
and
yes.
then Monita Akil as well. It looks very,
Yeah, Monia Akal. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It sounds like they're a real couple in real life because they have such similar last names, but actually no. And what's kind of interesting is that in some of the Arabic reviews, because Hassan Akil is like Akil is more like wise. It means wise
mm,
in Arabic. And akil means brain, so it's someone that's more heady. So it's very funny, in some of the Arabic reviews they said that even in real life they carry the main personality trait of their characters.
well, I'll be honest, when I first looked at their names, I didn't notice the difference. I didn't at
Yeah,
first,
there's
I
an
just
I.
saw
Yeah,
them as the
yeah.
same last name. Oh, no wonder these performances, they're married, of course. But no, but that's the trick. That's the magic trick here. It would have been hard to convince me they weren't married and that they hadn't had this relationship as we see it unfold over the course of this film. It's a beautiful, beautiful love story. And I love the fact that they don't telegraph anything more than is necessary in their character development. There's nothing over the top about it. very well-defined people in the film. They love each other. I mean, it's just,
Despite everything, yeah. Despite everything, but that's also the interesting part is that Nino is very much convinced that their relationship is written in the stars. It's fated to be together. Whatever happens, he keeps telling her that just take it easy. Whatever happens, the universe is going to conspire in our favor. It's going to bring us back together. And she absolutely hates this. She hates this type of thinking, even though this is what she falls in love with. She completely falls in love with this very lyrical, poetic, dreamlike scenario of our soul, we are soulmates and we're always going to be together. But it's that same thinking that with time becomes exactly what she hates about him, where she's like, just wake up, wake up. And no, it's not like that. Love is complicated. It demands active work. Relationships are hard. They demand compromise and sacrifice. And this is what makes a relationship work. So it's kind of interesting to have like these two
yeah, yeah,
aspects.
and I know that because we're talking about all these wonderful things about the film, there are so many different layers that we're probably not going to have enough time to talk about the family, the circumstances in the film. It's not they don't you don't shy away from the circumstances of Beirut and of Lebanon and what's happening then and happening now. I can't imagine. In fact, as you're sitting here today, we're talking. I don't know when the last time you heard a bomb drop from where you are, but it had to be pretty recently, right? When
Yeah. So, like right now, I'm in New York film, but yeah, the last round of war. Actually, I was staying at a place that had a view on the suburbs of Beirut. So my constant view for a few months was just smoke rising, and then we would hear constantly the bombs. And it's also kind of interesting because I have a 2-year-old, and I was always afraid that he would hear these sounds and somehow it would go, it would start building a trauma, just like I had as a child, because I don't really remember so well the Civil War, but somehow loud sounds and things like that are triggering for me. And well, now with a bit of perspective, I understand why. And I really didn't want this to be transmitted to him. But yeah, somehow it seemed that he wasn't comprehending anything. So I'm hoping he's young to a point where he's not going to register all of these sounds, or if I turn him into another one of us or my parents or my grandparents.
no, there's no way, there's no sense of this on many different levels. And another thing about the film, it opened in at the Venice Film Festival in 2025, won awards. It was Lebanon's entry into last year's Academy Award consideration for Best International Feature Film. You up to this point, this is, I believe, your first feature length
Fiction, yes,
fiction.
yes.
You've done a lot of documentaries. How did that inform how you, well, I think I know from watching, but it did inform your filmmaking as a documentary filmmaker and the impact it had on this film, right?
I believe so, yeah. First of all, in documentaries, I think that you're kind of discovering the story as you go, and you're very open to changes and to, being very receptive of whatever is happening in front of the camera. Also, you're much more open in post-production and in editing and just reshuffling everything, rewriting, which is part of fiction. But I think that because I've done it. In documentaries, I took it as granted that okay, things are going to get rewritten, things are going to get shaped in the edit. But mostly on set, I think that when I direct actors, I really try to create very surprising turn of events within the scene,
Mm.
where an actor is going into the scene not knowing that I actually gave a completely different direction to the other actor, that is going to take the scene sideways, and probably not going to be we're not going to stick to the script so much anymore, or we might discover something new. And playing these tricks on actors makes them constantly being reactive, as opposed to coming in and knowing like I have these sets of line that I have to say. And this was particularly the case also with the kids, because kids, when they memorize their lines,
Yeah.
it's not so great, because they're thinking of their lines. For them, it's almost like homework. But then when you get rid of that and you let them play and you let them improvise and you're kind of following them where they go. And of course, again, I have to give a lot of credit to my cinematographer. who has also shot my documentaries and who's, who understands that school of thoughts that we're going to block things, but then, things might play out very differently, and we need to follow that impulse.
Yeah, I'm thinking of when Amal,
Yeah,
yeah,
Amal, yeah.
was getting her picture taken. I'm thinking that that was one of those scenes that
Oh, for sure.
y-
Oh, I mean, out of the three kids, she's the one that improvised the most because, and there's a small joke that on day one, we were filming just a close up of her, and my cinematographer was filming her, and then I call cut and everything, and I see my cinematographer a bit. Like he's making this face. I'm like, is anything wrong? He's like, I just don't like filming people who are smarter than me. She's a 7-year-old. But she's extremely smart, and I cast her because also in her real life, like I think she understood very well the circumstances of being this child that's torn between two parents, and being very aware that things are not going well between her parents, and somehow she feels some of the guilt, and she feels that she needs to fix things up
yeah.
because in her real life she went through similar circumstances between her mother and her father, and I was lucky enough to get access to all of these stories, so she used a lot of her own personality, her own experiences to just come up with lines and change the scenes and drive them to something that feels familiar to her.
She seems very self-possessed. She seems very much aware, and at the same time, as an actor, knows they must be someone else in some manner of speaking. By the way, there's another scene which just came to mind as you were talking on the kitchen floor, right?
Yeah.
That's a great scene. I'm not going to say anything more. It's Valentina Hakim or
Valentina Hashim. Yes,
Hashem. Thank
Valentina
you. Thank you.
Hashim.
Valentina Hashem. Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
terrific
yeah.
performance. I mean, there's so many. We could spend the next 20 minutes just talking about all these different great performances in this film. I really want people to understand what a live film. That's the other thing about it. It's alive. The performers, the actors, the characters are alive in all situations throughout the film. I feel like they were connected to one another. There was real love in the room when they were interacting with one another. I just think you must have created quite a beautiful set for people to do what they needed to do in order to tell this story, because that's how it feels watching it. A joy to it. So I really, truly, congratulations on this film. It's just beautiful. I will sing your praises from the rooftop because they deserve to be a sad and beautiful world. Wow, writer and director and co-editor. I did not give you credit for as a co-editor on this.
Editing is like writing and directing at the same time. So yeah.
Well, Cyril, Aris, thank you very, very much for your time. Thank you so much for this film. It will be opening here in Los Angeles on July 31st at the Laemmle Royal that's in West LA, right off Santa Monica Boulevard, and the Town Center 5 in Encino, both Laemmle theaters. Terrific. Being released through Watermelon Pictures. Congratulations. They are really stepping up. There's some great films coming out at Watermelon Pictures, so I'm glad you're part of that enterprise. And please come back anytime. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mike. Really.
You have been listening to Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar, the place where you will hear from the best in independent documentary and foreign filmmakers. Please check out our previous interviews as well as upcoming interviews and special programming by going to cinemaphilepod.com. We are also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, searchable under Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar. Until next time, thank you for listening.